Dude, I gotta be honest. This is probably the hardest that I've ever switched up in a court case before. But all I'm gonna ask is please be respectful of the attorneys. It's a hard job. Initially, I didn't think that I was gonna care too much about the Gwyneth Paltrow trial. I mean, they call it a ski accident hit and run. But then when I heard the details of the case, I was like, I might have to follow this. And then I found out there was video. The video in a personal injury case. We need to start with Terry Sanderson. By Terry's version of events, he was just out at this beautiful place in Park City, skiing on the bunny slope. He's a retired optometrist. I think he's in his late 70s, and he's just enjoying a nice time on the slopes. In Terry's words, this is so hard for me to say. In Terry's words, out of nowhere comes Gwyneth Paltrow, star of Iron Man and Shallow Hal, bursting out of the woods, as he says, like King Kong. And she slams into him, breaking 4 ribs and giving him a serious head injury. Terry then says that Gwyneth Paltrow didn't acknowledge him, didn't check to see if he was okay. She brushed herself off, and then she, along with her entourage, left as Terry was there in the snow with cracked ribs. Somebody mentioned this to me earlier. When it's cold outside and you got ribs that are cracked, how are you supposed to get up? You need help. Well, that's where some of the holes came into Terry's story. We'll let the attorneys handle all of that, okay? On one hand, people feel like that, Terry's story is a little Swiss cheesy, okay? We're gonna let them fill in the blanks. But at the same time, if Terry's story is entirely true, I can't imagine how upsetting and how stressful it is to have something like that shocking and traumatic happen to you, and everyone's acting like you're lying. But then also, some people say, when you get on the slopes, you gotta sign a waiver. Hey, listen, I'm not a personal injury attorney, but I'm curious. Oh my God. You know what I just realized, guys? It just hit me. It's Gwyneth Paltrow. She's gonna have a powerhouse attorney. Okay. We're gonna watch the plaintiff first.
Ladies and gentlemen, distracted skiers cause crashes. Defendant Gwyneth Paltrow knew that looking up the mountain and to the side while skiing down the mountain was dangerous. And she knew that skiing that way, looking somewhere else, blindly skiing down a mountain by looking up and to the side was reckless. And she knew if she continued to ski that way, that it was not a matter of if, but when, by looking up and to the side, it was not a matter of, she would crash into somebody below her, and someone would get seriously and permanently hurt. She knew what she was doing was dangerous. She knew it was reckless, and somebody would get hurt.
Okay, good. Dude, all I can say is Gwyneth Paltrow, just looking like Gwyneth Paltrow.
But before we get into the details of this case, how Gwyneth Paltrow's neglect, her choices,
Oh my God.
and her conscious disregard for other people on the mountain all combined together to cause Terry Sanderson to suffer 4 broken ribs.
Some of y'all could step in here and read what he's saying and give this 10 times more. It's killing me. If I hire you, I need you to protect me.
And permanent brain damage. We first have to talk how skiers are supposed to ski down a mountain, what the rules of safety are, and the purpose for those rules, and what happens when skiers break those rules. That way we will all be on the same page. And we...
Wait, I gotta see Gwen's lawyer.
Our system, both our U.S. Constitution and our state constitution, allows these disputes to be done openly, publicly, and by a jury of one's peers. And I think it's a beautiful thing. It's slow. A lot of people complain about worry.
All right, this guy's got the pizzazz. Look at the way he's smiling at the jury right now.
But no one gets hurt in terms of, we don't burn people's houses down, we don't do acts of violence. And oddly enough, if a trial is done right, even the losing party feels that they were heard and understood, and that they feel some sense of peace.
This guy sounds fair.
So if you can't tell, this is a big deal to the parties.
Wait, he's a big celebrity attorney. He's getting me already. You son of a... We gotta go back to the other guy for a second. I'm looking at it with a critical eye. This is what happens when I go into a trial with no skin in the game at all. Even though some of you guys think that he's kind of boring, the reason why we listen to the opening statements is because both parties are going to clearly lay out what they think happened.
All skiers know that when they are skiing down the mountain, it's their responsibility to pay attention, look downhill, and yield the right of way to the skiers below them. Because the skiers below them can't see behind them,
Okay.
to control, as they turn left and right to control their speed, especially when there's multiple people on the mountain, it's the uphill skiers' responsibility to yield the right of way to those below. And it's never enough to say, well, so what if I crashed into someone that was below me on the mountain? That doesn't mean it's all my fault. Because especially on a beginner run,
Okay. The bunny slopes.
they know that skiers may be less experienced and that skiers below them trust that the ones coming behind are paying attention. That's what skiers do. Before they start down a hill, they take account of how many skiers.
Wait, so is that what his argument is? The skiers below trust the skiers above because they can't look behind them? Gwyneth Paltrow, I trusted you! Like, is that what this entire case hinges on?
Skiers are below them, what those skiers are doing, and they keep their eyes forward down the hill so they can yield the right of way. And even though it can be challenging sometimes when skiers do these things, they get to enjoy skiing, they get to practice their skiing, and most importantly, everyone gets to go home safe at the end of the day, and that's a good thing. But some skiers say, well, what's so wrong with looking up the mountain behind me and to the side while skiing down the hill? Just because a crash occurs on the mountain with somebody that was below me, that doesn't mean it's my fault. And some skiers say, well, what if the person below me on the mountain was changing directions quickly? Maybe it's their fault too. And finally they say, look, what's the big deal? You're not that hurt. And it's attitudes like this, behavior like this, and choices like these when crashes happen. And sometimes it's just a bump or a bruise. Sometimes it's a scare or a close call. But sometimes it's worse. Sometimes it's broken bones. Sometimes a concussion or permanent brain damage. And that's exactly what happened here.
Okay, he said he's about to get into the details, but like, bro, if you were an attorney, wouldn't you be stepping into the ring like, my client that sits before you today did not walk out of the hospital well? Wait, that's so bad. I mean, you would emphasize the injuries, like from the jump.
On the day of the collision, February 26, 2016,
Okay.
Miss Paltrow is skiing at Deer Valley with 9 people, including her 2 children, her future husband, Brad Falchuk, his 2 children, and 4 Deer Valley private ski instructors.
Dude, the fact that she has 4 private instructors, she's there with her family, her 2 daughters, her husband, and Terry described Gwyneth Paltrow as coming out of the woods like King Kong is like, it's not adding up to me. I mean, also they were on the bunny slopes. Like, I mean, is he trying to imply that like Gwen was on the slopes and she's like, check this out, Brad. Another thing that was really big was all of the ski instructors said that Terry's versions of events was not true. You know, you would hope that one person would, stand up for the truth and not side with a famous actor. I mean, like, maybe there's a conspiracy theory that they all lied, or maybe it just didn't happen the way that he described it. I don't know.
Eric Christensen knows the family well enough that one time he sent her son some pottery that he hand makes. He has worked for Miss Paltrow's family for a handful of ski vacations in past seasons. Eric Christensen knows the family well enough that one time he sent her son some pottery that he hand makes. A few minutes before noon, Miss Paltrow's group of 10 meet at the top of Bandana Ski Run to go to the bottom for lunch. Bandana is a green run about 3/4 of a mile long. Deer Valley grooms Bandana every ski day. Skiers have skied on it for 3 hours. The snow is packed. Although a green run, Bandana is steep enough for skiers to pick up speed unless they make turns. Slow signs are always at the top. I'm just going to show you a picture of that real quick.
Oh my gosh.
So this is the top of Bandana Ski Run. This is not the day of the crash, but it's near to the crash site. And as you can see, the top of the lift is where people get off and start to
Dude,
ski.
honestly, Gwen looks so just unfazed.
The Bandana goes down about another half mile or so.
That was... Did he just ask for water? I mean, it's okay to ask for water, but it was just funny. Oh my god, I don't... Julie never drank water.
Also at the top of Bandana is a meetup group of about 6 adults. A meetup group is a group that meets online to engage in activities like skiing, hiking, or bowling, or many other activities. Plaintiff Terry Sanderson is in this meetup group. 4 in the meetup group ski down. 4 of those in the meetup group ski down first, then Sanderson skis down to the right. Craig Ramone is another person in the meetup group who skis about 35 feet behind Sanderson. Sanderson and Ramone know each other only through skiing in this meetup group. So they're not really close friends, but they know each other. And they've only done about a half a dozen of these meetup groups together. Of Bandana,
Need another turn.
Miss Paltrow, her 2 kids, and their 2 instructors are ready to go down to the bottom of Bandana for lunch. Before they ski, one of Miss Paltrow's children says, Mommy, watch us ski."
How he know what Gwyneth Paltrow's kids said?
The children and their 2 instructors ski to the left. And the 2 instructors are Eric Christensen and Carrie
how
Oakes.
do you know?
Miss Paltrow skis down to the right.
We need to listen to the plaintiff's attorney explain the moment that it happened. We need to hear it from their side of the events, okay?
As she turns her head back down, she screams,
What? Gwen?
then skis back into the back of Terry Sanderson.
Wait!
She
What? Are y'all saying that she came out of the woods like King Kong, screaming?
then skis back into the back of Terry Sanderson.
So she screamed
She rides his back
before
down.
she hit him?
They hit the ground hard, and Miss Paltrow bounces off of Terry. The weight of both of them, their bodies, caused Mr. Sanderson's rib cage and his arm to smash into the ground, breaking 4 of his ribs, 2 of them completely. Sanderson's helmeted head.
This just sounds like a really bad accident to me. How did we get here?
And his arm to smash into the ground, breaking 4 of his ribs, 2 of them completely. Sanderson's helmeted head hits the ground, causing a concussion as his brain strikes the inside of his skull.
He really tried to give us those medical descriptions there just to tug at the heartstrings, and I mean, he's already lost me.
Sanderson is face down in the snow, unconscious.
He said Terry Sanderson is face down and unconscious. If he's knocked out, how does he know that Gwyneth dusted herself and off and walked off with her entourage?
Skiing 35 feet above them, Craig Ramone is the only eyewitness
He had a friend with him. Okay.
to of the crash. Ramone skis down
Oh, but his friend wasn't there.
and stops just next to them. He asks if they are okay. They say nothing. Ramone, again, is the only witness of this crash. Miss Paltrow is slow to get up. Her son's instructor, Eric Christensen, skis over from the left and stops above Sanderson and screams at Sanderson, who is not moving. "What did you do? What did you do?" Surprised by the crash and Christensen yelling at Sanderson, Ramon thinks, why is this Deer Valley guy screaming at Sanderson? He didn't cause this collision. Christensen doesn't let up, so Ramon steps between them. Christensen stops yelling at Sanderson. Sanderson is still not moving. They ask Sanderson if he is okay, but Sanderson only groans.
So they're saying he's still
Craig
unconscious.
Ramon turns to Paltrow. Are you okay? He asks several times. Are you okay? She doesn't say a word, and she slides a few feet down the hill. Terry moves a little and groans. My ribs. Paltrow turns away and bolts down the mountain to the bottom. Christensen turns to Ramon. Do you realize your buddy just took out Gwyneth Paltrow?
Your buddy just
Sanderson moves more, trying to get his skis around.
Okay, I'm just saying, if I suddenly was hit on the ski slope and my ribs were cracked and I'm coming out of a state of unconsciousness and someone's like, you just hit Gwyneth Paltrow, I'm like, I don't give a f***. Call an ambulance.
Christensen steps closer to Sanderson, picks him up by his hands, and stands him up.
Stands him up?
Snow
Really?
is caked in Sanderson's goggles. Christensen turns his skis down the mountain and he bolts, skiing straight to the bottom, following Paltrow's group.
Wait, I want to see Gwyneth's face while he's telling this part. It seems shocking to me that anyone would pick up a late 70s man and just pick him up by, his jacket and tell him to stand up when he was clearly just knocked unconscious. That seems interesting to me.
Leaving Sanderson and Ramon alone at the crash site. Sanderson is standing but hunched over, mumbling.
She looked over like, what is he gonna say that he said?
Do you think you can ski? I think so. Sanderson tries but skis poorly.
Quit.
Ramon says, stop, you forgot how to ski. Do you know your name? Terry. Do you know where you are? I have no clue. Ramon says, let me get some help. And Ramon steps back and flags down a Deer Valley employee and says, can you get ski patrol here? This guy's been hit.
Mm-hmm.
He's hurt and he's just out of it, disoriented. Within minutes, a Deer Valley ski patroller, Whitney Smith, arrives with a sled.
Okay.
Smith examines Sanderson.
Did he say that Gwen is gone at this point? Is he saying that she's still standing around? Because that automatically negates their claim that Gwen dusted herself off and just left.
At the first aid station, Sanderson again is evaluated, and he still has some disorientation.
But what?
His ribs hurt.
His ribs hurt?
Whitney Smith tells him, and the group of people in the Meetup group that are with him, he needs to go to an Instacare in Park City. Terry goes to the Instacare with someone who drives him. He's not sure who it was. And at the Instacare, he's evaluated.
Okay.
But the Instacare says you need to go to an ER room. It appeared that his pain in his ribs might be broken, and he reported that he was unconscious.
What is the medical definition of to be unconscious? Can you imagine somebody coming in with rib pain and you guys are examining him and they're like, dude, Gwyneth Paltrow ran into this guy. What the
First they say, that's not the way this happened. He hit me from behind. I know the witness Ramon says he heard me scream and look up and saw the crash. I never saw Sanderson before he hit me. Sanderson was the one who hit me. This wasn't my fault.
Okay. Gwen and company, let's see what you got.
So if you can't tell, this is a big deal to the parties, and it's really special that you were chosen. You should feel complimented, and perhaps one day you'll tell your children and grandchildren, I was selected for a jury, and it was an honor to serve, and I helped my community by trying to figure out a difficult problem. that the parties have.
That was slick. Ain't nobody gonna be saying to their grandchildren one day, you know, I served justice on a jury panel. You know what they're gonna be saying to their kids? I served on Gwyneth Paltrow. She was a famous actress back in the 2000s. I served on her jury duty. Like, that's kind of what he's saying.
Even in Greece, ancient Greece, they used to resolve problems like this. Big disputes.
Oh my God.
Bring in some criminal, some are civil. That essentially means, can someone go to jail for it? That's criminal. Is someone asking for money? That's civil. So this is a civil claim. And they would gather the people and listen to the dispute. So this is a very historic tradition. The burden of proof is one of your statements here from the judge, and I just want to comment on it. Burden of proof is a weighing of evidence. So I put before you Lady Justice. If you're ever in Salt Lake, go to the Salt Lake City County building and look up.
This feels like if a librarian became an attorney and they were coached by Jose Baez.
This statute, although this is not the exact statute. But you've seen this around, and I've done another one for you here.
He's cracking me up because he's gonna win. He's gonna win.
In my office. All right. So what's important about this?
Oh my
She's
God.
blindfolded. So one of the judge's instructions for you was no sympathy, passion, or prejudice. You're not to award anyone anything because you feel sorry for them. This is important.
Oh.
Because over the next 2 weeks, we're going to hear a lot about...
Wow. Did you guys hear what he said? He said, hey, listen, part of your job today, it is not to give money to somebody because you feel bad for them. That's not what we're doing today. Man, he just said that so smooth.
We're going to hear a lot about Terry Sanderson's mental and physical health, both before the ski collision and after the ski collision. And you're going to feel sorrow for him. But we're not here, I can feel sorrow too, but that's not why you're here. You're here to figure out if someone negligently crashed into someone or if no one did. And I think the law will permit you to decide that no one was at fault.
Oh.
Unlike a car accident or something, a ski collision is different.
Okay.
There are inherent risks of skiing. I know when I get on the top of the tram at Snowbird, and it's a gusty day like today, and I say, if I don't do this right, I could kill myself. I mean, it's a breathtaking, wonderful...
He really got screwed over when people started labeling this as a ski accident, hit and run, because then people are going to start to apply the laws of the road to this case. And when we think about the laws of the road, if you hit me, you're at fault and you're going to fucking pay for it.
Exhilarating, but also a little dangerous, isn't it? That we're strapping on pieces of wood or fiberglass on our boots, and we're going down a very snowy, icy hill. So, that happens. Maybe some of you have been hit. I've been hit skiing. It was disorienting. It was unhappy. I was unhappy, to say the least.
Oh, man. The subtle minimization. I've been skiing before. I've been hit. It happens. It sucks. Anyways, away from that.
But I did recognize it as an inherent risk. I mean, okay, let me move on that.
What?
So the blindfold,
Wait.
the blindfold.
Did he just screw up?
So the blindfold is, I'm not going to do this because I feel sorry for someone. Then the scales. Mr. Sanderson has brought
you
the
think
claim.
He planted a seed.
As a result, he has to tip the scale. Okay? The tie means plaintiff does not win. Tie goes to the defendant. So they have to tip. That's who brought the claim. That's the weighing. And then you see the sword. Now, the sword can be, I'm seeking justice, so I'm proactively fighting it. And sometimes Lady Justice is actually seen with a shield. Let me suggest that that sword is being used to defend a meritless claim, a false allegation, really kind of an offensive one, that she somehow left him an unconscious man and bolted, and it's I can tell you, we believe it to be utter BS.
Oh.
Objection, Your Honor. Argument. He's supposed to present what he's going to show, not argue it.
We believe it to be. It's fair. It's
He
fair.
just doubled down on it.
Oh,
He just
sustained.
doubled down.
It is bordering on argument, counsel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's suing for $3 million. Okay. I'll tell you what. I'm going to hit damages
He
later.
said, "There's a lot of things I'm thinking that I can't say right now."
I want to hit the merits of the case first. So the burden of proof,
Okay.
I wanted to emphasize, and then instruction 11 says, don't abandon your common sense. So this can look, you're going to hear from brain experts and a lot of people to talk about this, but don't abandon your common sense. That's very important. I also want to just reference to you that you should pay attention more to the records before someone's thinking lawsuit than the records after someone's thinking lawsuit.
Objection, argument, Your Honor. This isn't opening statement, it's argument.
Sustained.
Okay.
You're going to see a lot of records about what was going on before and during, and then after. Some of the records before indicate that Terry Sanders had brain issues before. In fact, there was a prior MRI. Now,
I still think that Terry could have. He's a 7-year-old man. He would have had. I believe that he would have had a concussion, especially if he was knocked out. But I'm curious how far they're saying that the BS is going. Like, what part? Where does the truth of the plaintiff's version of that story end in their eyes?
let me hit the accident, because I'd be silly to address other issues. Let me explain what was happening.
Okay.
And can you find that second picture? Ms. Paltrow has sentimental feelings about skiing. Her dad, who left this life too early, took her skiing as a kid at Alta. She grew up learning to ski, and those are very sentimental trips. In fact, after her dad died in his 50s, she didn't ski for a long time because it was an emotional thing for her. That is Ms. Paltrow. That is Gwyneth on the right. That is her son, Moses, on the left, on the very day of this ski accident. All right, so they're going up, and this was also, so it was a sentimental issue because she had started getting back into skiing, and she did it because she wanted her kids to learn like she had. Another thing, she had a boyfriend at the time who's now her husband, and he has kids the exact same age as Gwyneth's daughter and son. Oddly, the daughter is the same age as the daughter and the son as the son. And this was really their first trip to sort of have a mixed, see if this might work. So it was a special time, and it was a lovely day. So some ski events, we worry about, is the sun in someone's eyes? No one's saying that.
I want him
Is it a
to tell
snowy
me about
day?
the accident.
No, it was a nice day. How about, was it slick run? No, it was a nice groomed run.
You know, there's a point where I appreciate a lawyer that can schmooze, because I get it. It's just part of the tactic. But there's a point where I feel like you're schmoozing me too hard.
Apple, who you're going to hear from, Moses, who you're going to hear from, and then some Deer Valley people. Now, these weren't her people. These were Deer Valley instructors. I could have hired Eric Christiansen that day, just as Gwyneth did. And then Brad has 2 kids, and they had ski instructors. So that was their group. It was kind of a loose group, but nonetheless, they went to the top. They met at the top of Bandana with the plan.
Okay.
This was about 11 a.m. We're going to go down and have lunch. I think it's the Empire Lodge, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so we're going to all kind of ski down.
Okay.
Gwyneth is a conservative skier. She always skis on the far right.
Okay.
So if it's like a highway, fast people go on the left. I don't know if it's the same, but
Okay.
she's far right,
She's
and
taking
then
the slow lane.
kind of small curves. And she's generally watching her kids, but she's not specifically watching because they have their instructors. She's skiing, enjoying herself, and suddenly she sees two skis appear between her skis. And a man comes up right behind her. Now, they're not going fast.
How did I go from having a clear visual to not having a visual at all? Whenever that happens, it feels like there's a hole in the story.
That's kind of the odd thing here.
Okay. They're not going fast.
He comes up almost body to body like this and starts groaning. She doesn't know what's going on. What's going on? Am I being assaulted? She's moving forward, and then she's like, they begin falling to the right, and she's feeling freaked out, I think is a fair statement.
What?
And he hits down, apparently his side and his head, and she is essentially falling on him, but keep in mind, his skis are intertwined now with hers.
I do not believe this. I think she ran into the man. He had me. I was right here. I was right here in his hand, jumping up and down, saying, "Tell the story, Mr. Lawyer Man.
Tell the story.
The other guy had a clearer story than this. Am I tripping?
Her first reaction is get away from this. And so she's trying to get away. What has just happened? Now, she only has to think about this for a few seconds to realize, okay, I'm not being assaulted. But this fellow, she had a more colorful word, has just run into me.
A couple quick thoughts here. One, I don't think Terry was putting on any act when Gwyneth Paltrow crashed into him because he didn't know it was Gwyneth Paltrow. Like, he didn't immediately drop to the ground and say, "Oh, money." Because I'm being honest, the question on a lot of people's minds is this all about money, right? And then I do believe that Gwyneth Paltrow had a fear for a moment. Am I being attacked? Did somebody come after me? Like, she's famous, you know? She probably has that fear kind of, going off in her brain. But I believe that that's why she was so brash and get away from me. And he's trying to use that to excuse her actions. So now I'm kind of starting to believe from Terry's point of view that she was very cold and I just need to get away from this, you know? I think I've just fully switched.
What are you doing? Or words to that effect. And he's like, words to the effect, I didn't see you. And then there's a question, well, who ran into who? And he says, you ran into me?
It is like a car accident. If Terry was in the front and Gwen was behind him, then she hit him. Say you're at a ski slope, okay? You're skiing down, boom, somebody hits and somebody crashes into you, okay? If that happened to me, I want somebody to pay my medical bills. I don't care if it's the insurance or if it's you, but it better not be me. And second of all, depending on how serious it is, honestly, I probably do want some money, okay? Not in the ballpark of $3 million. That was definitely a red flag because he's retired, okay? $3 million? But when I think about this, I want my bills paid. And if it was really bad, give me some money and I'll get over it. Also, this lawyer's version of offense really shows how quickly you can lose somebody if you don't have your story straight or if you're not telling the truth.
Gwyneth's like, no, you ran square right into me. And he said, I'm sorry. He doesn't deny saying, I'm sorry. He doesn't remember it, but he doesn't dispute it.
That doesn't mean anything. If you bump into me, I'm gonna say I'm sorry. That's just how some people are.
Now, she's still ticked off. In fact, much has been said about the so-called only eyewitness. So you're going to hear from him this afternoon. I don't have to give you commentary on him.
They're saying the
But
witness
he will
doesn't
say
exist.
he heard and turned. He heard and turned. That's what the Deer Valley guy says. Eric Christiansen, one of the instructors, said he heard and turned and then saw. So I'll comment just a minute more on Mr. Ramon in just a minute. You'll hear about him. Back to Gwyneth's story. She's backed up. She's safe. Eric's on the scene. He's helping people get their skis off.
Okay, I want to hear his version of events for when did Gwyn leave?
And he's trying to figure out what happened. Now, Eric, backing up, they started at the hill. This is at the very beginning of the hill, by the way. It's not halfway down. It's not 3/4 down. It's the first quarter down. He's trying to figure out what happened. But he had seen Gwyneth go down. Then Terry, who was cutting across the whole thing.
What?
If I'm misstating it, we're going to have to defer to their testimony when they testify, but I'm trying to give you a big picture. He's making a wide, much wider turning, and guess what? He's blind in one eye and has decreasing vision in his left eye. He has hearing aids.
This isn't helping your case. This makes me feel worse for him. Gwyneth Paltrow crashed into a late 70s retired man, and now you're telling me that he's partially blind and he can't hear?
He's had heart, stroke, many other medical conditions. Just weeks earlier, he had told his doctor, I'm feeling old suddenly. And Terry's story, by the way, is that he's coming across and he sees a struggling younger woman, not younger, a struggling female skier.
Is this how y'all feel when the Dolphins lose?
He wants to be really clear to stay away from her. So he's actually turning his head to clear the beginner skier. And what happens? He comes right upon Gwyneth. He back turns with his better eye, and suddenly she's there. So the Deer Valley report, do you mind?
If I have to hire an attorney for court, I want to see footage of you work in the room.
By the way, Deer Valley is not a party to this lawsuit. The court dismissed Deer Valley. So Gwyneth's not Deer Valley. Deer Valley stands on its own.
Objection to argument, Your Honor.
Oh, wait, okay. Listen, like I said, I like to give my lawyers the benefit of the doubt. Wedgie King brings up something interesting. They said civil lawyers don't get nearly as much trial practice as criminal lawyers. That makes a lot of sense.
I don't know if they're going to assert like there's some massive cover-up or what, but...
Objection, argument.
Sustained.
Okay, back one, I think, James. By the way, I think the goal is to give everyone a little better access with these little screens, but it hasn't worked out today.
Oh, then he's switching back to the charm.
So Eric Christiansen, remember, he hears and he turns, and he goes directly over there. He's there within seconds, and he's seen what happened. And what does he say? Can you blow up the first half?
They had him write out the incident report. Look, this kind of sucks. And I'm putting myself in Terry's shoes here for a minute. If after this happened, I had to give statements or fill out an incident report, the way that I feel about the accident an hour after it happens, it's going to be much different than how I feel about it a week later when I've had time to process it mentally and the physical manifestations really start to show up. And I'm understanding all of the consequences of them. You know, bringing up this incident report from the day of to use against him. I'm like, dude, if this were me, I could have said anything. Because I might have felt bad. Oh, it's my fault. And then a week later, I got back pain that's costing me thousands of dollars. And I'm like, I wish I had f***ing advocated for myself in that moment.
Chief complaint, male skier took her out from behind. He's putting this together.
I can't believe I'm switching up this hard. So somebody wrote this report and says the chief complaint is male skier took her out from behind. So is that one of the park employees? Is that one of the 4 ski instructors that were hired that day to work with Gwen? Now look at the statement right below it. I didn't see it, but heard her as she went down. Then how can you say, that there was a collision? Deer Valley Resort Company ski instructor comments. If Gwyneth Paltrow paid thousands of dollars to rent out these 4 ski instructors for the day, keeping Gwyneth Paltrow's business is paramount to this company. So when the ski instructor has to do an incident report, it is going to be in favor of Gwyneth Paltrow. It is. It actually is. She hired 4 of them for that day, and it probably wasn't just for one day. It's for multiple days. And then look at this right here. He says, I didn't see it, but heard her as she went down. I skied directly to her. What this instructor is saying to Deer Valley Resort is, hey, I did my job and protected our big client. I'm not going to get in trouble, right? This isn't about Terry at all.
And then let's do the bottom thing, and then we won't focus on exhibits anymore really today on this.
Okay, what does this one say?
First thing male skier said, does that say said? I can't read it. Anyone?
You asking the people in the court what it said? I don't know what it says either.
Stated.
Maybe.
Was that she appeared right in front of him, thus admitting that he was the uphill skier. She never saw him because he came in from behind.
She never saw him because he came in from behind. I thought we had he said, she said. We have they said, he said, she said. Like, I don't know about you guys, but what I do is when I'm having trouble believing that he said, she said, I just kind of start looking at everybody's motives. That's just my default.
Was the evaluation from the Deer Valley skier, from the Deer Valley instructor. Interestingly, Eric Christiansen, the ski instructor, is trying to figure out, all right, what's the first question, by the way? Everyone okay? Everyone okay? Now, they were both, any collision, you take a body blow, it takes a little while to gather your senses, recognize, okay, I'm safe, okay. But his answer was he was okay. And he was on his feet. This took minutes. Gwyneth was not happy still.
What?
Moses, who you're going to meet, he's now 16, but he was a 9-year-old at the time.
Wow.
Was with his instructor. His instructor started to come over. Moses came over, and he saw his mom, and he was worried. He hadn't seen his mom. First of all, she's on the ground, and she's yelling at this guy.
Is he saying
She might have said something like, what the F word? And I think she might have said the F word. We're going to figure that out.
What the F word? Okay.
And she's mad.
Okay,
and he said,
With that said, is he saying that after the crash, Gwyneth said, what the f-? To me, that does give like, oh, I was going to say it does give some energy, but at the same time, if I crash into somebody, I might say, oh, what the f-, you know?
And I think she might have said the F word. We're going to figure that out.
I don't even think he should have,
And
shouldn't have
she's
emphasized
mad,
that.
And
That
he
was
said, I
bad.
haven't seen my mom like that. And he was sort of personally a little upset. All right. And then, okay, everyone's okay. Everyone's okay. And Eric Christiansen, the ski instructor, said, A ski patrol person, who's different than the instructor, a ski patrol person came by and said, everyone okay? And he said, Mr. Sanderson and Craig Ramon, who you're going to meet this afternoon, talked to each other and said, we're okay. And they said, we're okay, and the ski patrol left. All right. Now everyone's okay.
There's another aspect here where it sounds like Gwyneth was pretty cold when this happened. And then it sounds like the ski instructors don't really know what to do with their celebrity clients. So their goal is, let's get out of here. Let's get her out of here. Let's cater to her. And when the ski instructors say, let's go, Gwen probably feels like it's okay to go too. And then, you know what's actually really sad to me? Thinking about this 70-year-old man face down in the snow, having been injured, and seeing 9 people, some of which are employees, just walk off. I feel like that's got to be a memory, in the very least.
And I think Eric Christiansen, okay, Gwyneth, you can go join your family. By the way, your family's waiting for her at the bottom. Brad, interestingly, had heard it and looked up and saw his wife on the ground, and had come back up, and she had skied down to be with him, not to leave. By the way, you'll never hear the words hit and run
She left.
in this whole trial. This was not a hit and run. The plaintiffs even had a ski expert evaluate it, and he said it's not a hit and run.
I think I've heard enough. And did any of you guys switch up as hard as I did? Because for a minute, I was like, it sounds like it was just an accident. But the minute that Gwen's attorney sounded like he was putting together a fake story to minimize Gwen's involvement, I'm out.